The X-Files Collectible Card Game is made up of 9, count 'em, 9 different card suits, ranging from agents and equipment to adversaries and witnesses, and none of which is more underrated and infrequently used than the combat card. I'm going to discuss the upsides of combat cards and share with you some deck building tips on how to use combat cards to great effect. And stick around for the end of the video where I'm going to announce a giveaway where one lucky subscriber will have a chance to win a rare 1997 promo card. Welcome everyone to the Alien Investigations channel. I'm Steven and you're watching Tips of the Trade. So one of the questions that I get asked from time to time is, are combat cards any good? Are they worth including in a deck? That's a fair question, and amongst the game's community of players, the answer is decidedly varied. There are those who say that combat cards don't effectively contribute to the deck's overall win condition. They're too situational, they take up space. If you really want to win, you got to keep your deck lean and mean, and that means cutting out all the fat. Some of the game's more seasoned veterans will tell you how they've won X-Files CCG tournaments without a single combat card occupying their bureau decks. While it's true that a bureau deck can be effective without the aid of combat cards, it's also true that a balanced, well-constructed deck properly laced with combat cards can be quite powerful, and using them to help take out your opponent's agents for 2 or 3 turns can give you a distinct upper hand. Moreover, a single combat card could mean the difference between your agents getting carted off to the hospital or remaining in the field in order to successfully investigate the site. Let's take a look at how that might be done. Combat cards come into play during the investigation phase, more specifically the Combat Subroutine, which occurs whenever an adversary is played and the investigating player is unable to negate it. The Combat Subroutine is composed of the long-range combat round and the close-range combat round. Barring the intervention of a combat card like Run and Gun Battle, only one round of long-range combat will occur. After that, the close-range combat round will repeat until either the adversary's health is reduced to 0, or the health of all agents on the opposing team has been zeroed out. Combat cards are paid for and played prior to assigning damage during each round of combat. Note that the player controlling the adversary gets first crack at playing a combat card, and after that, either player can opt to play as many combat cards as they wish, provided they can pay for them. You can divide up the majority of combat cards into 2 categories, the first being cards that enhance the damage inflicted by the controlling player. Cards like Hard Punch, Semi-Jacketed Hollow Points, and Running Gun Battle will add to the combatant's long-range or close-range combat skill, thus increasing the chances of taking down the opposing player's combatant or combatants plural more expediently. What's more advantageous are these cards with a purple cost emblem that can be played by either the investigating player or the conspiracy player, which makes combat cards like these not as situational as some might think. For instance, as long as the long-range combat round isn't skipped, that Semi-Jacketed Hollow Points card can be played on either one of the agents or the adversary to inflict an additional 3 points of long-range combat damage, and for the low cost of 2 points. The second primary category of combat cards are the ones that reduce or negate the damage being inflicted on the controlling player's combatant, including, but not limited to, Dodge, First Aid, and Take Cover. Cards like these will either keep your adversary alive long enough to take out more agents, or keep your agents from being sent off to the hospital. These cards are generally inexpensive to play, and in cases like First Aid, absolutely free. And much like the combat cards in the previous category, you have a number of cards with a purple cost that can be played by either side. So again, they're not all that situational. While it's true that some of these combat cards are only applicable to certain adversaries, such as Body Armor, which can only be played on government adversaries, and Energy Strike, which can only be played on alien and evolutionary adversaries, and Vicious Fangs, which can only be played on occult and primordial adversaries, this is where strategic deck building comes into play. A lot of players think they gotta fashion their decks to cover every contingency under the sun. I need an adversary for affiliation sites. Oh, I need an adversary for result sites. Oh, and I need one for method, and I need one for motive. No, I'm telling you, not only is that a fool's errand, and the subject for a later video, dear God, but take it from me, there are too many variables when you try to include a wide array of adversaries in your deck. which will make it difficult to play the right combat card on the right adversary. The only thing this will accomplish is making your deck too big and too unruly. You need a more concise plan for attacking your opponent's team. So listen up, because I'm going to show you how. With regards to adversaries and combat cards, here's what you want to do. When you're building your deck and you're trying to figure out which conspiracy cards to include, apply the following strategy. Choose one of the following 7 options: alien adversaries, government adversaries, evolutionary adversaries, primordial adversaries, occult adversaries, adversaries capable of using subterfuge cards, or adversaries capable of using martial arts cards. Pick one of these 7 and pull 1 or 2 copies of each to include in your deck. As an example, let's say you decide to go with evolutionary adversaries. That means you're going to pull such formidable foes as Squeeze, the Psychotic Attack, the Sandman, Darren Peter Oswald, Living Machine, and the Walk. These are primo adversaries. Include 1 or 2 copies of each. Personally, I usually use 2 copies of the first 3 and 1 copy of the latter 3. The next thing you're going to do is pull every combat card applicable to evolutionary adversaries, and again include 1 or 2 copies of each. There are 5 evolutionary combat cards to consider, the first one being Sneak Attack, which allows the adversary to deal all of its damage in the round before the opposing team, and if the target agent's health is reduced to 0, that combatant is precluded from inflicting any damage on the adversary. The next one is Mind Control, which causes one agent to attack one of their fellow agents on the team instead of the adversary, thereby cutting down on the damage dealt to the adversary. Thirdly, you have Illusionary Foe, which negates all damage from the opposing agents. This is a great card because it can be played in either the long-range combat round or the close-range combat round. After that, there's Flaming Wall, which causes 1 point of damage to each opponent in the long-range combat round, in addition to whatever other damage the adversary would normally inflict. Since this combat card is limited to the LRC round, you might want to consider excluding Squeeze and Living Machine from your deck, since they both skip the LRC round. But this is a fantastic card to include in a deck with the Sandman, the Psychotic Attack, Darren Peter Oswald, the Walk, and if you nasty, the Host Attacks. Same goes for Energy Strike, which adds 3 to the adversary's long-range combat skill. So you see, it's all about pairing like-minded adversaries with their corresponding combat cards. Again, choose only one of the 7 categories to include in your deck, alongside the usual conspiracy events and bluffs. What say we take a look at another example? As I said, from the 7 options listed here, choose only one of the following for inclusion in your deck. This time, let's go with adversaries capable of using subterfuge combat cards. This is a great option because the 2 available subterfuge combat cards have a purple cost, so they can be used by select adversaries as well as agents with a subterfuge skill of 1 or more. Once again, what you're going to do is set aside all the adversaries that are capable of using subterfuge combat cards, which includes the Mechanic, the Crew Cut Man, the Alien Bounty Hunter, the Sandman, the Deadly Blur, and the Red-Haired Man. As we went over in the previous example, you'll set aside 1 or 2 copies to include in your deck, but let's first consider the 2 available subterfuge combat cards: Ambush, which negates the opposing side's long-range combat in its entirety for 2 measly points, and Hide, which again negates the opposing side's damage in either the LRC round or the CRC round for the low cost of 1. But the catch is that the controlling player's combatant cannot deal any damage either. With regards to Ambush, this is arguably the best combat card this game has to offer. You not only can use it on any of the 6 aforementioned adversaries, but you can also play Ambush on agents with a subterfuge skill like Fox Mulder, Alice Krycek, Walter Skinner, and Bill Patterson. Playing Ambush in the course of a combat is gonna be the decisive factor in how the fisticuffs plays out. And for the cost of 2 conspiracy points, playing Ambush can result in an adversary like the Deadly Blur wiping out a full cadre of agents. The same goes for Hide. If you were to play this card on the Deadly Blur or the Alien Bounty Hunter during the long range combat round, this ensures that both these adversaries are alive to do some serious damage in the close range combat round. And the best part about playing Hide in an LRC round on an adversary that has no LRC skill with which to attack, this proves a nice end run around the card stipulation that the adversary is forbidden from inflicting LRC damage. There's no downside in this case. So there you have it. I hope I've made a fairly convincing case for including combat cards in your decks. If you concur, or even if you don't, let me know in the comments below. Getting to the heart of this episode's title, are combat cards worthwhile? The answer to that question is ultimately a matter of opinion, and as such, there's no single definitive answer. The worthiness of any card or card type is relative to the deck it's being considered for. The keys to building a strong deck are conceiving a core strategy, and every card in the deck should support said strategy. And, as I attempted to convey in this episode with matching certain adversaries with certain combat cards, you'll want to be sure to prioritize synergy. That is to say, look for cards that work well together. Before I let you guys go, let's get into the giveaway. This week I'm giving away one rare 97 promo card, Deny Everything, the answer to the ultra rare Deep Throat card from the Premier Edition set. If you want a chance to win, make sure you investigate that subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. It's as simple as that. The winner of the Deny Everything card will be determined by random drawing, but you gotta be a subscriber. The winner will be announced in a future video, so if you want to stay on top of it, as well as everything else that's going on with the channel, be sure to ding that notification bell. You can read all the details of this giveaway in the description of this video. And speaking of winners, I want to congratulate Mike DeChuck up in Canada. He's the winner of the Krycek GenCon 96 demo card as part of the giveaway that I announced on September 18th in Volume 1, Issue 5 of the Magic Bullet. Congrats, Mike, and thank you for tuning in. I also want to thank everyone who entered the giveaway and implore you not to touch that dial. There's lots more giveaways to come, including more GenCon 96 demo cards. In fact, I'll be giving away at least 3 more of these GenCon cards before 2025 is over. And all you'll have to do for a chance to win one of these is to stay subscribed, give the next video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. By the way, those lovely Gen Con cards, they come courtesy of Jonathan Hagee in Kentucky, this channel's first and, well, only sponsor. I can't thank you enough for your support and enthusiasm, Jonathan. You've done so much to help keep this channel going, and your love of this game almost dwarfs my own. And that's our show for today. Just a reminder, if you need ideas for constructing an effective X-Files CCG Bureau deck, I've got sample deck videos here on the channel that should prove inspiring. And finally, you can reach out to me at alieninvestigations19@gmail.com for business inquiries, or if you have ideas for upcoming content that you'd like to see. Thank you for watching. Once again, I'm Steven, and be sure to tune in for more tips of the trade.